Khan, and I'm not a terrorist. My name is Khan, and I'm not a terrorist.
Alright, so we chose to explore Hindi cinema in the 21st century, and we based our course off of several syllabi that we encountered in this selection process. So before we get into the details of the course, we should probably understand why you should understand why we chose to explore Hindi cinema. So since receiving independence in 1947, India has progressed significantly, especially in technology and entrepreneurship and whatnot. But there's one area that it hasn't, and that is promoting liberality and education and the perception of others. And this is really important because India, according to Wikipedia, is the world's largest democracy. And when you're not promoting the themes of liberality and whatnot, you can't call yourself a democracy. So recently, within the past 10, 20 years, the Hindi film industry has been promoting societal themes, societal causes to alter preconceived notions of the nation.
Okay, and to piggyback off of what Varen said, the Bollywood film industry has become one of the most influential film industries throughout the world. This isn't only because of the numbers, such as that they only produce only twice the amount of movies as the United States, but also this is interesting because Hindi cinema also offers progressive approaches to a lot of the social issues found in India. For example, most of the protagonists in the films always overcome a real world problem, and that allows people to actually get interested into the films, such as, for example, they would overcome either like gender roles, or women's roles in
Regional
society.
divide, right? Regional divide.
Yeah, regional divide, even like overcome dyslexia, and this is really interesting because it allows the audience to get into how to look at these films.
So the primary objective of our course is to expose American students to Hindi cinema, and this is an important issue for the following reasons. One, the United States and India share a lot of different social issues, so it's important to take a look at India and see how India discusses and views different social issues and how they understand it, because by learning about that, we can apply that information to the United States and better understand our social issues, and by providing a greater context. It's important to also study how America's influence has impacted different foreign countries. Since America is one of the world's greatest powers and has such a large influence over the rest of the world ideologically, we can kind of zoom in on Hindi cinema and see how America's influence over India kind of transformed their views, and a quote of progress and liberty. Also, since Hindi cinema is such a gigantic industry, it impacts not only India, but many different countries around the world. So, for instance, Hindi cinema is very big in China and Hong Kong, as well as even there's one of the movies we talk about, Three Idiots, actually has a Spanish remake called Tres Idiotas. So because Hindi cinema is so big and prevalent, it's important to talk about it. And lastly, by viewing foreign cinema, we can adopt a more welcoming and inclusive attitude towards different cultures, because by being exposed to different people and different through foreign cinema, we can use that and be more easily adaptable and more welcoming to new cultures that we have no experience with.
And so in this course, a lot of the students will come in with a Western perspective of Bollywood films. And so we'll use this textbook as a guide to introduce them to more open ideas about first class.
Oh,
The one here.
No,
Keep going until they need to come.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome. And so with this textbook, it allows students to become more open and to better appreciate Hindi cinema. The rest of the films will promote revolutionary cinema in a new way. For example, The Hours of the Apprentices it encourages the audience to overcome difficulties in Argentina, but the rest of them will be able to show like progressive movements throughout Indian society.
So before we get into the actual details of the course, it's important that we understand and we're exposed to different Hindi films that we're going to use in the course. So the first one is Three Idiots, and Three Idiots is a perfect exemplification of challenging societal norms. Most importantly, it challenges the educational system in India. It challenges the stereotype that all Indians are engineers, doctors, or lawyers. And also it reiterates the importance of following one's dreams, following your passion, and reaching for excellence rather than success. Don't just choose a job because it's very lucrative. Choose a job because you're happy and you're genuinely passionate about it. And a good way to demonstrate how the film promotes such themes is to watch this clip from the film. Okay, so we will
Watch the clip.
we watch the clip.
What?
It is machine. So we watched the clip, and as you can see from the clip, the film tries to escape the idea that students should. It tries to. It frowns upon the educational system in India, essentially saying that students should go to school to learn, not to simply rotely memorize information. And when you're studying or learning something, it's not as important to get the textbook definition always. And yeah, you have to have that genuine passion and stuff. Another film that we chose to explore in the course is Chuck in India, and some of the themes that the film explores is the idea that liberality for women, and India historically has been a country that has not necessarily granted much freedom to women. They have been somewhat oppressed, but I'll touch. But they haven't experienced much freedom in the country, and this film exposes how women too can represent India as a country, and also the film goes through regional division in India and how within the past 100 years since independence, there's been some regional division where different states or different counties look differently upon or frown upon other regions. And here's a scene from the film that exposes gender roles in India. Okay, so as you can see in the clip, the Coach Kabir Khan and the association members do not view the women's team as an actual entity that can represent the nation. They only care about the men's hockey team. Also, it's important to note before this clip, there is a scene in which one of the association members said that the woman should be cooking in the kitchen or taking care of the household. So obviously, this film is challenging gender roles in society.
Okay, so now I'm going to run you guys through the assignments. So you can see the first thing on my list to talk about is reading and film comprehension quizzes. And these are just going to test the students on, basic plot points from the films and from the readings. And this is just to make sure that the students are keeping up with the assignments. Next, we have the blog posts, which are sort of similar to what we do in this class, and that students will be prompted to respond to the films that we watch, and they will have to write 300 to 500 words about them, and they will have to respond to their peers' posts 2 days after the due date. Next is the contextual film analysis essay, in which students will have to write a 5-page essay comparing and contrasting 2 of the films that we have watched up to that point in the class. The point of this is to analyze the central concepts of the films and identify any social issues that may be addressed by the film, discuss them in context to the other films and in the context of contemporary American society. So next is the advertisement project, in which students will create an advertisement, either like a poster or like a movie trailer, and they want to gear that towards an American audience, and they're going to do this for any of the films that have been watched in the class up to that point. And the point of this project is to capture the essence and message of the film and convey these messages in a concise manner and provide insight on how the issues affect American society. And then the final project is a video production project, in which students will get into groups and produce a 10-minute short film in the style of the Hindi cinema films that we've watched in the class. And the goal of this is to address a pressing social issue from an entertaining angle. So just going to run you through the week schedule. So you can see the first 3 weeks are really just kind of introduction. So you can see we're going to introduce Hindi cinema by watching Singham, which is a very popular film, which I'm sure many of you have seen at least part of. And then we're going to watch Hour of the Furnaces in order to set kind of the baseline for what revolutionary cinema is all about. So that's kind of the birth of world revolutionary cinema. And then we're going to begin getting into the social issues by watching Tar Zameen Par, which discusses dyslexia and mental disorder stigmas in India. Next, through week 7, we'll be watching 3 Idiots and Shakti India. So here we're going to talk about challenging gender roles and the education system, as you saw in the two clips that we showed you previously. In the next block of 4 weeks, we're going to get into more ethnic and religious divide issues by watching PK and My Name is Khan, which you saw the clip from that in the beginning of our presentation. And then towards the end, you'll see we'll begin work on the final production project. And as you can see, the last 4 weeks are really dedicated to getting this final short film done. So the first week we'll have script workshopping, and week 13 and 14 will be group work time, so there won't be class meetings where attendance is taken. This is where the students will go out and work on their projects. And week 15 is dedicated to screening the films that the students have produced.
Okay, so the grade breakdown is pretty straightforward. We've got the contextual film analysis essay and the advertisement project making up both 20% of the grade. And the cumulative project, which will be the biggest project in the course, is 30%. Blog posts make up 15% total, reading and film quiz is 10, and attendance and participation are 5.
Also, it's important to note that we also offer extra credit in the course that's worth up to 5% in your grade. And to earn that 5%, you have to watch 2 films and write 2 film analyses for write a film analysis for each of them if you want to earn 5%. So ultimately, throughout this course, we hope to explore. We were able to expose students to different societal themes, and ultimately, going back to the course objective, we are trying to relate it to events that occurred in American history. So, for example, with My Name is Khan, we have issues in the United States where not every American citizen is entirely accepting of Muslims, as you can see from President Donald Trump's behavior, and then that's also prevalent in India. And also exposing students to foreign films will make them more socially accepting and even more welcoming to citizens in America, especially immigrants, and enforcing the idea that America is the land of the immigrants.
And at the end of the day, we believe that the students will actually enjoy the sports because it goes into different approaches of how to solve different. It provides an entertaining aspect to revolutionary cinema that we would not think of, and it's just really interesting to get into. Yes.
Good.